Number 7. Marissa Williams. In April of 2014, Alabama woman Patra Williams took in her 19-year-old niece, Marissa, but the relationship between the two rapidly became strained. The teen perceived her aunt as controlling, while Patra had grown frustrated by Marissa constantly talking to men online and inviting them to the home she shared with her son and fiancé. In an attempt to monitor the teenager's behavior, Patra created a Facebook profile for Trey Top Dog Ellis and began talking to Marissa. The woman successfully catfished her niece, but by her own admission, the endeavor would reveal much more than she ever could have fathomed. In her talks with Ellis, Marissa claimed that she hated her aunt and, at one point, suggested she and Ellis have intercourse in Patra's bedroom as she slept. After one incendiary row in which the latter hadn't allowed the teenager to go out at unusual hours, Marissa asked Ellis to kill her aunt, unaware that they were the same person. Marissa explained in detail how he could get to her aunt's bedroom and, if Ellis faced resistance, also suggested he kill Patra's fiancé, son, and the family dog. Judging from the precise instructions Marissa had provided and the fact that she'd begun packing her belongings, Patra began fearing for the safety of her family. She called 911 and Marissa was arrested, shocked to learn that her aunt was actually the same person she tried to enlist as a hitman. Marissa was arrested for solicitation to murder but escaped while on probation and has been a fugitive ever since. Number 6. Jake Davidson. On August the 12th of 2021 in Plymouth, England, Jake Davidson carried out the first fatal mass shooting to have occurred in the United Kingdom in over a decade. 22-year-old Davidson, an apprentice crane operator at a security and defense company, had been suffering from mental health problems for most of his life, issues with which his family struggled to help him. He'd begun to develop views aligned with the incel, short for involuntary celibate, online subculture. They've been described as groups of people, usually men, that define themselves as unable to obtain a partner in spite of desiring one, and who generally harbor resentment against those romantically active, particularly women. Incels, labeled as hate groups by several organizations, have been linked to at least 8 mass murders since 2014. Davidson's relationship with his mother was strained by his anti-women views, and he'd come to resent her for repeatedly trying to get him treatment for his mental health. On August the 12th, an argument broke out at their residence on Biddick Drive in the Keyham area. Davidson killed his 51-year-old mother before wandering the streets armed with a pump-action shotgun, which evidence suggested had been legally obtained. He fatally shot 2 more people and injured 2 others on Biddick Drive before killing a man in a nearby park. Davidson then went to Henderson Place, where he mortally wounded a 66-year-old woman, telling a passing resident there was nothing to worry about. Witnesses reported that he carried his shotgun like a soldier would and patrolled the streets with a blank expression. At 6:23 p.m., he turned the weapon on himself and ended his life. Local police haven't identified a definitive motive, but in the tragedy's aftermath, it was reported that a triggering factor behind Davidson's rampage may have been a catfishing scheme. He'd allegedly told his friends that he'd found the one online and that she was an American gym instructor. Davidson had been chatting with her every night, but at one point, she asked for money to travel to the UK and see him. Davidson didn't have the money she'd asked for, and his prospective lover stopped talking to him. Upon realizing he'd been catfished, the incident allegedly further fueled his misogynistic views, leading up to the conflict with his mother and the mass shooting. Number 5. Deontay Hicks. In May of 2020, Dallas man Deontay Hicks drove from Dallas to Houston to be with a woman he'd been talking to online. On May the 10th, he stood outside his car in the 1000 block of Center Parkway, presumably waiting for his date. It was there that the 27-year-old was gunned down and robbed. His family believed that the incident had been the culmination of a catfishing scheme concocted by the robbers to lure Hicks to the location. 2 unidentified African-American suspects were spotted fleeing the scene on foot in an unknown direction of travel. The victim, a father of 1, was taken to a local hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. No arrests have been made in connection to his murder, and his family traveled to Houston in the aftermath and began spreading flyers. They hoped to drum up new leads for local law enforcement, whom they felt hadn't done enough towards bringing Hicks's killers to justice. Number 4. Camilla Zidan. In 2013, an Australian woman took her own life by plunging from a cliff in Sydney's east after her online boyfriend had ended their relationship. It subsequently emerged that the heartache which had led to 20-year-old Renee Marsden's death had been the result of a catfishing scheme orchestrated by her former best friend, Camilla Zidan. The latter had taken the Facebook photos of a young man she'd randomly met at a nightclub and began building the identity of Braden Spiteri, through which she started talking to Marsden online. Spiteri claimed that he couldn't be visited because he was an inmate at the Goulburn Correctional Centre after he was convicted of manslaughter over the death of a friend in a car crash. As their romance blossomed, Marsden and Zidan's relationship had begun to deteriorate. It had become evident to the former's friends and family that Zidan had developed an obsession for her, with reports of stalking and physical altercations. Marsden began to distance herself from Zidan as her relationship with Spiteri progressed, unaware that they were one and the same person. Prosecutors would later argue that after Marsden had broken free of the controlling, real-life friendship, Zidan ripped the fictitious Spiteri away from her as punishment. On August the 5th, the day of her death, Marsden received a breakup message from the man she loved and with whom she'd been talking for over a year. She consequently jumped from the cliff and her body was never found. The authorities launched an investigation into her death, and the connection between Zidan and Spiteri emerged. Her home was searched, but the phone she'd used in the catfishing scheme wasn't recovered. Zidan later claimed that she and Marsden were in a romantic relationship and that, believing others wouldn't accept them, created Spiteri together in order to freely communicate through the profile. Evidence, as well as witness testimonies, indicated that Marsden was unaware of Spiteri's true identity. In spite of her apparent culpability, as there aren't laws against catfishing among adults in Australia, Zidan was never charged. Number 3. Denali Bremer. In early June of 2019, an Alaska teen was catfished into killing her friend by a man with whom she developed a relationship online. Denali Bremer, aged 18, was offered $9 million to abuse and kill someone and to document the ordeal. She chose Cynthia Hoffman, a developmentally disabled teenager who trusted Bremer and regarded her as her best friend. The man with whom the prospective killer had been talking posed as a millionaire named Tyler, but in reality was 21-year-old Darren Schillmiller from Indiana, nearly 4,000 miles away. Leading up to the murder, he'd also allegedly instructed Bremer to send him pictures of her assaulting minors. Bremer promised 4 accomplices a cut of the money she was expecting to receive from Tyler. The group lured 19-year-old Hoffman to a hiking trail outside of Anchorage, where she was bound and executed via a gunshot to the back of the head. A 16-year-old male had reportedly acted as the triggerman, using a firearm supplied by Bremer, who reportedly sent a Snapchat of the killing to the man she believed would pay her for it. Hoffman's body was later discovered on a bank of the Eklutna River. Bremer was arrested along with Schillmiller and the other accomplices, with each of them facing life in prison. A sentence hasn't been pronounced as their cases have been delayed in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Today's topic was requested by Ramela Kami, Fo Enix, and Maurice Boyd. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Charles Loomis. In June of 2018, Missouri man Charles Loomis was catfishing with a friend on Truman Lake. They had a trot line, which is a series of baited hooks on separate lines, and were pulling in catfish, one of which barbed Loomis in the knee. He told his friend that he felt like he'd been poked but didn't think much of it and continued fishing. About a half an hour later, his condition worsened as Loomis couldn't properly move his leg, which he discovered had swollen up to the size of a volleyball. By the following morning, he couldn't walk and began experiencing vivid hallucinations. Even though his movement had been severely impaired, Loomis visualized that he'd been picking tomatoes in his garden and had been running down the road to give some to his neighbor. He then became unresponsive and his wife called an ambulance, which rushed him to the hospital, where he was put in the ICU. Doctors found that Loomis had fluid in his lungs and stress on his heart and organs. They determined that through the catfish sting, he'd contracted Aeromonas, freshwater bacteria that triggered a violent infection. Loomis had been on the verge of death, but after receiving treatment for several weeks, he was on the road to a full recovery. Number 1. Ismemen David Etue. On May the 31st of 2021, a freshman linebacker for Virginia Tech beat a man to death with his bare hands for catfishing him on Tinder. 18-year-old Ismemen David Etue had matched with someone named Angie on the dating platform and went to an address in Blacksburg in April. It was there that he was met by 40-year-old restaurant worker Jerry Smith. The pair became intimate under complete darkness, and with Smith hiding his face, circumstances that reportedly prevented Etue from realizing that his date was a biological male. Etue returned to the apartment in late May and savagely attacked Smith upon discovering he'd been catfished. The young athlete punched him repeatedly and stomped on his head, breaking his teeth and every bone in his face. Etue would later tell investigators that he left the apartment and didn't call the emergency services even as he heard bubbling and gurgling sounds coming from the victim. The police found Smith's badly beaten body the following day. Etue, who confessed to the killing under questioning, was charged with second-degree murder. Thanks for watching. Would you rather be catfished into an explicit conversation with your best friend, or be attacked by an actual giant catfish? Let us know in the comments section below.